If you wonder why there are so many alleged victims, that's your answer. We're talking about more than 25 years of this type of conduct. Now, although most of the victims who have stepped forward were victimized after 2015, this has been going on for a very long time. Now, when you think about the fact that some of this conduct occurred 25 years ago, and you wonder why would it take somebody so long to step forward, I want to remind you that many states in the United States have recognized that it's very difficult for a victim to step forward and to make these types of allegations when something very terrible has happened to them. I'll use New York, the state of New York, as an example. The state of New York has specific statutes in place that revive claims that are even claims that would typically be not able to be brought, that it revives such claims, and they can be brought even 25 to 30 years later. Because there's a recognition there in New York and California and other states that it's very difficult for a victim to come forward. And I would respectfully suggest the only reason many of these people are coming forward because they see other victims coming forward. And it gives them some comfort that, hey, I won't be the only one. And I expect more victims will come forward. You know, there's an old saying that says, a lie has great speed, but truth has endurance. The acts complained of in these cases that we're going to file occurred primarily in New York, either Manhattan or the Hamptons, or occurred in California, primarily in Los Angeles, or in Florida, primarily in Miami. Most of these events and incidents occurred at parties, typically after parties, or album release parties, New Year's Eve parties, 4th of July parties, something they called a puppy party, the all-white party, although several of these events occurred at auditions. Many times, especially young people wanting to break into the industry, were coerced into this type of conduct in the promise of being made a star or in the promise of having Sean Combs listen to their tape or even let them read for Sean Combs. You should know that some of this behavior occurred at well-known venues in New York City. Some of this behavior occurred at private residences of people that we all know. Some of this behavior occurred at hotels that we're all familiar with. You should know that more than 55% of the victims filed reports, reported this conduct to either the authorities, that is the police, or to hospitals. We're in the process of collecting with our team assistants medical records, reports that were made to the authorities, and I've already said that some of the individuals in this group did in fact talk to the FBI. You should know that several of the individuals, and when I say several, I mean many, who did in fact seek medical treatment were drug tested, and drugs were found in their system, weird drugs that you probably never heard of. One in particular that continues to pop up is a drug called xylazine, or trank, which, based on our research, is known as a horse tranquilizer. Now, there's been a lot of reports that we're filing a class action. This is not a class action. Class action is when one or two people file a case on behalf of a group of people. That's not this. These cases will be individual cases. Each case will live and die on its own merit. These cases will be filed individually, one plaintiff against whoever the defendants were involved in the case. Each case may be filed in one venue like California, another case may be filed in New York. One case may sue just Sean Combs, but multiple other people. One case may sue a range of people. I would expect most, though, to be filed, as I said, thinking or hoping or perhaps believing that I may start naming names. Well, that day will come, but it won't be today. The day will come when we will name names other than Sean Combs, and there's a lot of names. It's a long list already. And of course, I already know who some of these individuals are, but because of the nature of this case, we're going to make damn sure that we're right before we do that. But the names that we're going to name, assuming that our investigators confirm and corroborate what we've been told, are names that will shock you. These are individual cases there are indeed other perpetrators involved. They will be revealed when that particular individual case is ready to be filed. They already know who they are. And I'm talking here about not just the cowardly but complicit bystanders. That is, those people that we know watched this behavior occur and did nothing. And I'm talking about the people that participated, encouraged it, egged it on. They know who they are. I call them the facilitators of foul play, willing participants in vile conduct. As we identify them, each will be part of this case as defendants. These defendants will not only include individuals, but would also include corporate entities who ultimately profited off of this culture and behavior. I'm looking at banks, pharmaceutical companies, hotels. We know that many of these individuals were paid cash. We know that many of these individuals involved, whether they were the ones being assaulted and abused or they're witnessing other people being assaulted and abused and then paid and threatened and told to leave. Typically paid 10 grand in cash and told to leave. And then threatened as they were leaving. So in addition to Sean Combs, you should know the defendants in these cases we're going to file will include anyone, of course, who engaged in the assault or exploitation, anyone who participated in such in any way, anyone who encouraged or facilitated this conduct, anyone who was in the room and watched it happen but made no effort to stop it, any venue or venue owner who was aware of what was going on but failed to stop it, any individual or entity who knew about the conduct and benefited from it but did nothing to report it or stop it, and any individual or entity who covered it up or helped cover it up. These people who know who they are should just come forward now. I would imagine, as we speak here, there are a myriad of people who are very nervous. You can't hide skeletons in the closet forever. I would expect there are many people out there right now who are desperately searching their memories as they delete their texts and data. Now, although these are, in fact, individual cases, there is a common theme, an MO, if you will. Typically, the victim is lured into a situation where he or she is given a drink. Typically, that drink, reported by these victims, is apparently laced with something. Once that drink takes effect, the perpetrators perform all kinds of sexual acts on the victims, many times passing him or her around as other people watch and enjoy the show, and then leave the victim ashamed, confused, injured, and wondering what happened. When the victim reaches out, he or she is told not to say anything. Sometimes there are threats of physical violence or financial repercussions or bodily harm. The claims we intend to bring will include the following: violent sexual assault or rape, sexual abuse, facilitated sex with a controlled substance, false imprisonment, compelling prostitution, sexual misconduct, dissemination of video recordings, false imprisonment, sexual abuse of minors. Given the large volume of cases, and given our other docket obligations, and given the fact that we want to be sure when we file these cases that they are fully vetted, I expect we'll start filing these cases against Sean Combs and other perpetrators within the next 30 days. Now, it's rare, sexual abuse, sexual exploitation, this type of activity is pervasive in our society, and it's rare we get a chance where we can really focus on this as a country and really focus on this about how pervasive this is and what we as collectively can do about it. So I thought I'd take this opportunity before I go into some of the individual cases and talk about some of the individual claims being made and so you'll get a sense of what this 120 people group looks like individually. I want to visit with you real quickly before we close here about some specific instances without disclosing the victim's name. You probably know that depending on the age of the victim, you can file these cases, these individual cases, under Jane Doe or John Doe. Each state is different in that respect. Typically, there is a balancing test, like the public's right to know the name of the victim and plaintiff versus the confidentiality and the safety of the plaintiff. So we'll have to struggle with that with each one of these cases. Our intention, of course, is to, like we always do, file these cases under a pseudonym until the court tells us otherwise. But let me share with you a few, just kind of give you a sense of the kind of cases and the kind of instances that people are calling and reporting that we are trying to corroborate, vet, and these are the ones that we've already corroborated, vetted, and collected evidence on. One individual who was 22 years at the time she was assaulted said that the typical MO at one of these parties that have been widely discussed in the press was that when you were handed a drink, and now we know that the drink is laced with something, if you refused to drink it, you were kicked out of the party. Now, let that sink in for a minute. I mean, the admission to this party was that you had to drink the chosen drink that was handed to you, and now we know that in most cases, I would say 90% of the cases, these individuals were drugged with some sort of drug. That was kind of the MO. Another instance, this individual who was 9 years old at the time was taken to an audition in New York City with Bad Boy Records. Other boys were there to audition as well. All of them were trying to land a record deal. All of them were minors. This individual was sexually abused, allegedly by Sean Combs and several other people at the studio in the promise to both his parents and to him himself of getting a record deal. Another instance, another minor, told allegedly by Sean Combs that he would make him a star, but he needed to visit with him in private about it, away from his parents. Once they were in a private area, allegedly Mr. Combs made the victim perform oral sex upon him. Another incident, an individual 15 years old at the time, flown to New York City to attend a party, was drugged, and then taken into a private room, allegedly in the presence of Mr. Combs, where this female individual, minor, was raped, and then other individuals took turns raping her. Another individual, 26 at the time of the occurrence, was picked up allegedly by Mr. Combs and several other people in a black SUV from the airport, was given one drink in the SUV, and then literally woke up the next day not knowing what had happened, but with pain and damage to both her vagina and her anus, where she then went to the hospital. She was missing her underwear and her shoes. Another instance, an individual, this time not a minor, attended a group dinner, allegedly with Sean Combs in Miami. She wasn't drinking because she was pregnant, but whatever she drank at the table, apparently, at least according to her, was laced with something. She blacked out, and she woke up in the same bed, again allegedly, with Mr. Combs in his mansion in Miami. Her vagina and her anus were torn and sore. And I could go on. I mean, literally, you're sensing a theme here. It's the same theme, and it all involves some sort of drug. One instance, an individual who was 20 years old at the time was asked to attend, just saw her on the street, asked to attend a party in a hotel. She was flattered, went to the party, was given one drink and doesn't remember anything else. Ultimately, was so messed up, went to the hospital where they found cocaine and this horse tranquilizer in her blood system. I want to give you a quote from a very young man who told us over the phone about his experience and all the things that happened to him, he says allegedly at the hands of Sean Diddy Combs and his friends in the effort to try to sign a record deal. This was kind of what he was told he would have to do. His quote is, "Had he not been in power, I feel like I could have been something great. I quit the industry because of what Sean Combs did to me." And that's really what it comes down to. We are pursuing this, asking you to support this effort, to encourage witnesses and victims to come forward and bring your evidence so we can continue to break down this wall of silence and we can continue to have these stories heard. This is the beginning of what I hope to be a national dialogue. This type of sexual assault, sexual abuse, and sexual exploitation should never happen in the United States or anywhere else. This should have never been allowed to go on for so long. This conduct has created a mass of individuals who are injured, scared, and scarred. If you are one of those individuals, we ask you to reach out. If not to us, to someone you trust. If you are someone who witnessed any of these events, we ask you to reach out. Your name can remain confidential.
Okay, there you have it. And as I said, as you pay attention to the very last, 30 seconds of what he was saying at this press conference, he was saying that that what they're trying to do is put an end to all of these essay activities that has been going on for so long, for decades. Again, this is my unpopular opinion. Where was this energy when Corey Feldman, which was a child star, was saying this very thing some 20 years ago, 25 years ago, actually probably longer than that he was speaking about this? No one paid attention. No one listened. They just pretty much pushed him to the side and blamed it on the fact that he was an angry, washed up child star. And he was saying this very same thing some 20 years ago. I have a clip. Listen to this.
I can name 6 names. One of them who is still very powerful today. I propose to do this by making a film that'll be the most honest and true depiction of child abuse ever portrayed. By telling my own story in a very real way. I can tell you that the number one problem in Hollywood was and is and always will be pedophilia. And they're some of the richest, most powerful people in this business. And children aren't supposed to handle that sort of stuff. And believe me, I would love the pain to stop today. This is about creating a cycle of awareness. This is about opening people's eyes and minds to the fact that this is a real problem, that it really exists. Unfortunately, I have tried time and time again through the years to get this story out, to get the points across, to get the names out. In 1993, I told the Santa Barbara Police Department, when they came to interrogate me about Michael Jackson, trying to convince me literally that my friend was a pedophile. And I told them, no, he's not. I said, in fact, if you want to know what a pedophile is like, I can tell you very specifically because I've been molested. And they said, oh, really? By who? I said, well, I can give you the names. Here they are. And they said, okay, well, unfortunately, that's not our area. Let me tell you something. When you're a kid, when you're an 18, 19, 20-year-old kid, you try telling the police, which is a very big thing to do, and especially when it wasn't even my situation. I was just answering for a friend. Mm-hmm. So the fact that I found the courage to even throw it in there and hopefully get some support, and then they were like, sorry, they just shut it down like it didn't matter. And this was when it was still within the statute of limitation.
That's right.
It was within my 10 years, because in California, we're only allowed 10 years to report these crimes. And if you're a kid, and this happens to you at 12, 13, 14 years old, that means you have until you're 22, 23. Well, how many people by 22, 23 are self-aware enough to know that they can come forward and they won't be scolded, they won't be shamed? A lot of them took a deal to keep their mouths shut. They took a deal to go along with these forward advances so that they could help their careers. How do I protect myself when they're going to spin it? They're going to call me a druggie. They're going to call me this. They're going to call me that. They're going to diminish my worth. And then they're going to come after me with a legal team.
As he said, when he tried to speak up, and he was ready to name the very accusers or the very people that were behind that, the very individuals that caused him. I'm trying to skip over my words because this is YouTube and I don't want my podcast to be flagged, but he presented the people that were behind what they, the essay allegations towards him, and it was ignored. They kind of pushed it to the side. But there's one individual and it goes along with what Corey Feldman said. They were higher ups. They were the top tier owners and CEOs and studio heads. Number one person that no one seems to pay attention to, that many people even forgot. We're gonna need a drum roll for this. Roman Polanski. Yep, Roman Polanski. No one remembers this very nasty, disgusting individual. I tend to do a lot of research, and I pulled up an article about Roman Polanski because I remember what had took place. This took place back in 1977. So I'm going to read something to you right here. Okay, it says, a trial date has been set in a civil case alleging that Roman Polanski, a child in the 1970s, years before he was arrested for SA of a 13-year-old girl in a separate case. Okay, now it says the trial is scheduled to take place on August 4th, 2025, following a lawsuit that accused Polanski of giving a child alcohol and R-wording her at the Benedict Canyon home. The complaint was filed last June in Los Angeles County Superior Court. The filmmaker wasn't named in the case until July, and that was this year. The plaintiff remains anonymous as Jane Doe. The suit was originally filed without the plaintiff's or defendant's name made public. The plaintiff and her attorney, Gloria Allred, we all know who that is, discussed the case Tuesday during a news conference in Los Angeles. Allred said she was able to have Polanski served at his home in Paris. That's Paris, France. Let that sink in for a minute. Who does that remind you of? Does that remind you of someone who actually fled and went to Bali? But anyways. Continuing, our client has demonstrated enormous courage in filing her lawsuit against a famous director, Roman Polanski. Okay, those who don't know who Roman Polanski is, he's a very, very, I don't want to say talented, but you know, some people will say you have to separate the art from the individual. But he produced and directed some very profitable movies in Hollywood. I'm not going to name them all, but he was one of the high-line directors of the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Okay. It says, Allright said at the news conference, although the defendant has appeared to return to business as usual in his life, our client has not been able to return to business as usual. But we look forward to our fight for justice and accountability for Jane Doe. The plaintiff added that it took her a long time to decide to sue Polanski, and that her goal is to obtain justice and accountability. Questioned by reporters how old the plaintiff was during the alleged R-word, Allred said, Allred would only say that the plaintiff was under 18. Allred said the victim in the lawsuit reported the assault to police, but she declined to offer additional details. Polanski, who previously pleaded guilty to SAing a minor in a separate case in 1977 before fleeing the United States, has denied the allegations and attempted to get the case dismissed. He strenuously denies the allegations, and the proper place to try the case is in court. Polanski's attorney Alexander Rufus Isaac told the Times. According to the complaint, Polanski invited the defendant to dinner after meeting her at a party in 1973. They dined at a restaurant on La Cienega Boulevard, where Polanski ordered the plaintiff tequila despite knowing she was a minor, the lawsuit alleges. After drinking the tequila, the plaintiff allegedly became dizzy and sick and told Polanski she wasn't feeling well. Polanski then drove the plaintiff back to his house and brought her into a bedroom where she passed out on his bed, the suit says. When the plaintiff woke up, Polanski was lying next to her and told her that he wanted to have sex with her. The complainant alleges Polanski proceeded to remove the plaintiff's clothes and R-word her after she said no, and please don't do this, causing her tremendous physical and emotional pain and suffering. The lawsuit continues. The plaintiff is seeking a jury trial and unspecified damages. Now get this. This is golden. Okay, Polanski is 90 years old. He pleaded guilty to sexual assaulting. He pleaded guilty to SAing Samantha Gamer or Gailey, then age 13 in 1977 when he was 43, following allegations that he drugged and assaulted her at the home of actor Jack Nicholson. Yeah, actor Jack Nicholson. While on probation and before a verdict was delivered, the director fled to France. So Roman Polanski has been living in France since 1977 after he SA'd Samantha Geimer. And this happened at the home of the actor Jack Nicholson. And we all know who Jack Nicholson is. And the point of all of this is to say, as I stated at the beginning of the podcast, is that could it be that Diddy is the fall guy? Could it be that Diddy is a fall guy for all of the transgressions that these other like top-notch CEOs and label heads have been doing for decades? But it's all been pushed under the rug. It's all been like kind of like unknown. It's been hidden. So what did they do? Again, they offered us up Jeffrey Epstein, that other guy, I keep forgetting his name, Weinstein, of course, Bill Cosby, and now Diddy, or Sean Combs. It makes me think. But you know, as I furthered down this rabbit hole, it made me come across another individual. And of course, this comes across because of the fact that they're saying now that they're also connecting victims possibly over in the UK, as far as over in the UK. So they're investigating people that have also attended Diddy's parties, and possibly there are victims that have fallen to being SA'd. And everybody knows that the UK, they're at the top of the list when it comes to SAing children. They've got more people over there that have been a part of this behavior for decades also. And many people still, and I guess I guess I can blame the fact that, you know, most Americans don't do a lot of research. A lot of Americans don't do in-depth research to connect the dots. Listen to a lot of conspiracy theory and a lot of misinformation, particularly here on YouTube, because there's a lot of misinformation. And I guess it's okay because it's all about entertainment. I'll give you a gentleman, goes by the name of course he was what do they call it, knighted, or he received his sir, or he's knighted by the royal family. So it goes by the name of Sir James Wilson Vincent Saville. And again, a lot of Americans probably never even heard of this gentleman, but goes by the name of Jimmy Savile. Okay, he was like a DJ, a personality and DJ. He was best known throughout the UK, United Kingdom, for his eccentric image. He had it was a weird looking character, very strange. Google him. Please Google him. His name is Jimmy Savile, Savile, and read about him. Look at this character. But he was a very eccentric looking individual. Straight white hair. He looked inbred, to tell you the honest truth. But he had a lot of charitable companies. He hosted the BBC shows, which was one which is Top of the Pops, which was very, very popular in the 70s. Very, very popular. And he also had a charity called Jimmy'll Fix It. And what that particular organization was about is that he will go out, throughout the UK, and he would do these marathons. And people would donate money for the marathons that he would run, and then he would take the money and he would donate it to children. Some of the children that he was responsible for, like he would sponsor like these children that were sick. So that's why he came up with Jimmy will fix it. Jimmy will fix it. Meaning that whatever the problems that they were having or whatever the situations that they were going through, he would come along and he would offer up, kind of like Make-A-Wish. Make-A-Wish organization that was very popular. That's very popular in America. So he did Jimmy'll Fix It. So he used those organizations that he started to essay children. The sad part about this is that the royal family knew that he was doing this. A lot of people kind of looked at him strange, and they kind of looked at him side-eyed, but because of the fact that he was doing a lot with children, a lot of the citizens over in the UK kind of like brushed it to the side and said, okay, well, he's doing a good thing. But he was secretly essaying a lot of children and got away with it for years. Okay, throughout the allegations, these allegations made against him, the police, they never went after him. They allowed him to go on to doing this to children. Right up until the time he died, which was back in 2011. It's October 2011 when he finally died. And then that's when all the allegations came out. And it pointed right back to the royal family. Because they knighted him to where he is now known as Sir James Wilson Vincent Seville. So I say all that to say this: as we listen to, as we had a chance to listen to that press conference, and the gentleman was saying at the end that they are going to pursue all of the leads and stop this, which has been going on for decades. And yet these other people that I mentioned got away with it. And now Diddy is a fall guy. But before I go, one more thing for you. Another thing I was looking up. And there's this organization in the United States, a very big organization. It's called NAMBLA. The acronyms of that is North American Man Boy Love Association. I'm going to leave it right there. If you need to Google it, please do. Please do. This is a national organization that has a website, members, and it's right in your face. But no one talks about that. No one says a word about that. But yet, Diddy is the evil one. Again, this is just my unpopular opinion. And that's it for me. Thought I would bring you these little treats tonight. Because after I heard that press conference, it moved me. It moved me in a very, very deep way. So I say again, could it be that Sean Diddy Combs is the fall guy, just like Bill Cosby was? Again, it's just my unpopular opinion. Thank you so much for listening. Hope to be with you again soon. Everyone, please take care. Be careful out there. Stay tuned for more.
Go on, you've got another 5 seconds. Say something outrageous.
You dirty bastard.
Go on, again.
You dirty fucker.
What a clever boy.
What a fucking rotter.
Well, that's it for tonight.